Welcome to this video where we will discuss the three doshas, or what's known as the functional principles. So we've learned about those five elements of earth, water, fire, air, and space. Now we're going to talk about how those five elements merge into these functional principles that are known as the doshas. For many of you, you probably heard that word dosha, especially if you've heard about Ayurveda. You might have even done a dosha test to determine your dosha. We will be doing that within this training as well. So like the elements, these doshas are uniquely present in all of us, and they govern our psychobiological functions, meaning they govern our physical body, also our mental and our emotional body. They are present on a physical level within every organ, every tissue, and every cell in the body. The three doshas are known as Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Vata is connected to the elements of space and air. Pitta is connected to the elements of fire and water. Kapha is connected to the elements of water and earth. Vata is the energy of movement, just like air moves. Pitta is the energy of digestion and metabolism. It's that fire. And Kapha is the energy of lubrication and structure. Just as everyone has a unique fingerprint, we all have our own unique blueprint of the doshas of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Everyone has all three doshas, but usually one is dominant. Sometimes one will be secondary, and then there'll be another one that's less prominent than that. Each individual's health is really reliant on maintaining the balance of the doshas, just like it is the balance of the five elements, in their own specific, unique proportion that's applicable to them. Health, when we think about, is order, it's harmony. Disease is disorder, it's dissonance. When the doshas are off, that then triggers that cascading or domino effect that leads to disease and illness. Let's take a little bit more time to examine each one of the doshas a little bit closer as we unpack these and explore more nuance. We'll start off with Vata and general characteristics of Vata. This is going to govern all biological movement. It's related to our life's essence, or what's known as prana, or in Chinese medicine, what's known as qi. Prana is the pure essence of Vata. So there's always that correlation between Vata and prana, prana and air. It regulates all activity in the body, physically and mentally. It includes everything from breathing to blinking to your heart beating to the rhythms and the movement of your spinal fluid, cellular activity within the cytoplasm and the membrane, and every and all impulses throughout the whole entire nervous system. When balanced, it promotes creativity, open-mindedness, lightness, and joy. When it's out of balance, causes fear, anxiety, nervousness, and tremors. Physical characteristics of Vata. Vata people are typically either taller or shorter than the average person. They usually have a more thin or slender build. They have a hard time holding weight or gaining weight. Therefore, they have more of a bony frame. Their veins are more prominent. They have less body fat. Their skin has a tendency to sometimes be dry, rough, cracked, or wrinkled. Their complexion can often be dull or dusky. Their eyes are smaller, and sometimes their eyes twitch. That's that movement, that Vata. Their digestion fluctuates and sometimes is affected by their mood, what emotional state they're in. They're often light sleepers, sometimes suffering from insomnia. Their urine is scanty. Their sweat is minimal. They often experience constipation, abdominal distension, and gas. They suffer from pain disorders such as headaches and arthritis. They get aggravated or thrown out of balance in weather that is cold or windy and dry. They like to be physically active and energetic. They're always on the move. They like to travel. They enjoy speed and movement and motion, aerobic activities. So very often they love running and jogging. But they get tired easily and they get burned out easily because they have less of a reservoir of energy and resiliency. Therefore, they lack stamina and endurance. They go strong, but then they crash hard. They're subject to muscle spasms and stiffness. Vata's psychological characteristics. Vatas are very quick and agile in their minds. They can think fast, they can move fast. Talkative, informed, intellectual, open-minded. They're able to see things from different perspectives and vantage points. The mind easily wanders. Sometimes their head is in the clouds. They're daydreaming. They lack determination, lack confidence. They often have negative images of themselves. They suffer from fear and worry, anxiety, stress, and a lack of stability of being grounded. Their memory is short-term and erratic. They tend to overextend themselves. But they make good artists and teachers, communicators, and musicians. They're very, very creative. Any creative career a lot of times attracts certain Vata individuals. And they can have resistance against being a leader. They'd rather just kind of sit back and follow than really lead a group of people. General guidelines for balancing Vata dosha. We want to keep them warm. We want to keep them calm. We want to avoid raw foods, especially in colder season and climates. And this is what I love about Ayurveda, right? Is that you have people that think that everybody should eat all raw food. A raw food diet may be good for a certain section of the population, but not so much for Vata, especially in colder climates and colder seasons. We want them to avoid cold drinks, cold beverages, not putting ice in their drinks, avoid extreme cold temperatures. We want them to eat warm, unctuous food, spices that are going to help warm them up. And they do very well with a regular routine. They need regularity. It's like the banks of a river. They need a structure. And without that structure, without the banks, it floods out to a big, messy swamp or marsh. So Vata is all about having that scaffolding of structure, of regularity, and ritual. All right, now let's talk about Pitta. General characteristics of Pitta. It's the energy of heating and metabolism, regulates digestion, absorption, assimilation, body temperature, connected to the enzymes and the amino acids related to metabolism, promotes appetite and vitality. When Pitta is balanced, it promotes a sharp mind that's focused, intelligent, and understanding. But when it's imbalanced, it can often lead to things like hate, anger, criticism, competitiveness, envy, jealousy. So as you can see, it's very important to keep the Pitta's balance. Physically, Pitta is going to be more of an average height and an average build, often well-developed muscles. Sometimes the skin is prone to acne, rashes, other inflammatory disorders, sensitivity to sunlight, hair is thin, tendency for premature graying and balding. So in Ayurveda, when the hair grays quicker than it should, that's usually because of imbalanced Pitta. Sometimes a very strong and excessive appetite because they have so much fire in their digestive system. It's like a furnace that just needs more and more and more food and sustenance. Prone to hyperacidity, heartburn, ulcers, and hypertension. Sleep is moderate, but sometimes disturbed by those imbalanced emotions. If they get angry and upset, it's going to affect their sleep patterns. Urine is often yellow, prone to loose stools and diarrhea. They sweat easily. So in a yoga class, the ones that are sweating all over the place, and at the end of a strong yoga class, it's like an ocean of sweat. Those are usually the Pittas. Suffer from fevers, infections, toxic blood. Anything that's inflammatory is always going to have a connection to Pitta. They're competitive. They love sports. They love exercise. They love athleticism. Their endurance is moderate, but they can often overheat easily, especially in the summer months. And then they have loose joints. Psychologically, Pitta is intelligent, very perceptive, sharp mind. Fire is sharp. Fire is penetrating. Fire is Pitta. Often can be very opinionated and judgmental. They anger easily. They can become aggressive, strong-willed, stubborn, and therefore they make good leaders. This is what is required within a good leader, somebody who is sharp and strong and fiery in nature. They love to use energy. They love to use force. Therefore, they make good executives, CEOs, police officer, military personnel, lawyers, scientists, politicians. Usually have some Pitta happening. Sometimes they can lack compassion and they have a hard time seeing other people's points of view because they have their blinders on and they see things one way, and there's that rigidity with their perspective. General guidelines for balancing Pitta: we want them to avoid excessive heat. We want to avoid excessive cooking oils, avoid excessive steam and saunas. We want them to limit salt intake because salt can aggravate Pitta, as we'll learn later on in the training. We want them to eat cooling and non-spicy and non-stimulating food. The thing about Pittas, though, is that they're the ones that want to go eat Mexican food and they want to douse their enchilada or their burrito with tons and tons of salsa, and they want to wash it down with a margarita loaded with salt around the rim. They love the salt, they love the spicy, they love the stimulation, but that all throws the Pitta out of balance. We want them to drink cool beverages, not ice, but cool. And we want them that when they are going to exercise, that they do it in the early morning or the late afternoon, early evening, when it's not peak heat time, to make sure that that Pitta doesn't get totally out of control. All right, now our last dosha, the dosha of Kapha. General characteristics: energy that forms the body's structure. It's the glue that holds the cells intact, supplies the liquid that sustains the life of cells and systems. It lubricates joints, moisturizes the skin, heals wounds, maintains immunity. It provides strength, stamina, and stability. When balanced, it promotes love, calmness, forgiveness. When imbalanced, Kapha causes greed, attachment, possessiveness, and envy. Physically, Kaphas are going to be more stocky in build, with a well-developed chest, with a larger skeletal frame, bigger bones. They often have a tendency to be overweight. They carry more fat on the body. They have thicker skin that tends to be damp and oily. Their hair is abundant and thick. Their teeth are large, white, attractive. They have that $1 million smile. Appetite is low but steady. Metabolism is slow. Hard for Kaphas to lose weight. They're great sleepers. Once they go down, they're like a bear. They're just hibernating in their bed, just sleeping. Doesn't matter what's going on outside. They sleep through it all. They accumulate mucus easily. They can suffer from congestive disorders, swollen glands, asthma, edema. Can be sluggish, but when motivated, they have strong endurance. They can just go and go and go. Great stamina. Very often they suffer, though, from inaction and a lack of discipline. The classic metaphor is like your couch potato. This is Kapha when it's out of balance. They just want to hang out on the couch and eat food and eat potato chips and not move. That's that Kaphic quality when it's not properly managed. Psychologically, Kaphas are more emotional, but they tend to be very loving, loyal, and devotional. You think about your classic grandmother mentality, like the grandmother who's the nucleus of the whole entire family, and the grandmother that cooks and provides the food and the love and is just so caring, and you feel the warmth of that grandmother. That's very much a Kaphic quality. But they can get overly attached and possessive and greedy, very romantic and sentimental. They can cry easily. Again, a lot of emotions there. They're slower in nature, so they're slower to learn. They're slower to change, but they retain information well. They're better at finishing than starting. It's like trying to get a boulder up a hill. That's that Kaphic energy. But once you do get that momentum, it will progress little by little until the deed is done. Community and relationships are important. That network of friends and family are more important than going out there and conquering the world and being the best at their endeavor. They'd rather be at home and be around people that they love. They make great followers. If you hire somebody who's Kaphic in nature, they will be very, very loyal. They will be steady. They're naturally grateful and content. They're friendly to the people that they relate to, but sometimes they can have difficulty relating to strangers and outsiders. So you think about your small town mentality, and they love everybody in their community, but if there's maybe another population, maybe another nationality, or maybe in some cases another ethnicity, they have a wall between them and whatever that other group is. But the people that are in their community, they're all for. Good parents, grandparents, providers. You think about an opera singer, that's very much a Kaphic quality, larger in frame, great, beautiful voice. They're hard workers who hold on to all that they acquire. General guidelines for balancing Kapha: to get lots of exercise, like even 5 to 6 times a week. Avoid heavy foods. Keep active, keep moving. Don't sit around all day working. Sit on the couch, get up, move, walk. Switch up and vary routines. So different than the Vata that need regularity. Kapha, they need to try new things. Drive a different way to work. Go a different way on a walk. Vary it up. Variety is the spice of life for Kaphas. Avoid too much dairy. Avoid iced drinks and cold foods. Avoid fatty and oily foods. Eat light and dry foods. All right, so that provides you a good framework of understanding in a deeper way the physical characteristics, the psychological characteristics of the doshas, and often some general guidelines of how to balance them. Now, there's 7 main doshic body types. Number 1, Vata. Number 2, Pitta. Number 3 is Kapha. These are called monotypes. They're very dominant in one of the doshas. It's either Vata, Pitta, or Kapha. Now we also have what's called dual types, and that's where there's 2 that are pretty prominent. One may be a little bit more than the other, but 2 are definitely there in the picture. So we could have Vata Pitta for number 4. We could have Pitta Kapha for number 5. And we could have Kapha Vata for number 6. Now, I will say that when I used to see people, it was very rare that you would see a Kapha Vata. But it was very, very, very common that you would either see a Vata Pitta or a Pitta Kapha. Number 7 is also very, very rare, and that's called the tridoshic body type. And that's somebody who's almost equal Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Most people, again, fall underneath that category of the dual type, Vata Pitta, Pitta Kapha, or Kapha Vata. Now, whatever you're more dominant in, if you're a dual type, you say that dosha first. So if you have somebody who's a dual type of Vata Pitta, but they're more Pitta than Vata, we would say they are Pitta Vata. Another example would be somebody who's Pitta Kapha, another dual type. But if they have more Kapha than Pitta, then we would say they are Kapha Pitta. Hope that makes sense. All right, great. I know that that was a lot for the doshas, but the doshas is key. As you can see, we're building and building. We had the introduction, laying down the context, ethos. We moved to the 5 elements. Now we've correlated that to the doshas. So you're going to move through your journal prompts. And in the next lecture, we have a shorter one, but very important as well. And that's called the 20 basic qualities. See you in that one.